Welcome back to What's the Truth podcast, where we speak about family, business, thematic issues about Kenya, international issues, arising issues. Today we are blessed to be with a special guest, Mary Munyiri. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you for giving us the time. I would give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and then we can continue.
Okay, fine. And thank you for having me in this time. Like you have rightly said, I am Mary Munyiri, and Mary Munyiri is a very, very passionate person. I am also a mother. I am a wife. I am a corporate person. And yes, I have been in the corporate for quite a long time, as well as also I could also say that also I'm a believer in Jesus Christ.
Okay. Being a very reserved person, I feel like today we'll get the chance to really get to talk to you and connect with you, even as our audience get a bit more perspective about yourself. So I think I would like to start with where you were born, family. How has this changed your perspective? What have you picked up from your parents, brothers, sisters, your family as well?
Beautiful. I would also start by recognizing that you lightly said that I'm a reserved person, but it seems today I'll be able to not reserved is where it is that you are focused. You don't just say things which are not, maybe you don't feel like they are needed to be said, but when you enter into a talk or a conversation, you realize that I'm not that reserved. You've asked about my background. I was born many years ago in Laikipia, to be specific, in a place called Rumuruti. Rumuruti is very interior, meaning that you have it's those places during those days. I know right now there is a lot of improvement as far as those areas are concerned, but before that, there are those very interior places where I wondered how it is that we found ourselves there, but I was made to understand that my parents came from other places. They came from Nyeri to go and work in the lunches of the white people. It's during those early days where the white people are getting people to go and work in their ranches. So that's when it is that my parents went there, and that's what I was born. Then after some time, I went to school in that place up to the lower primary school. Then in the upper primary school, I shifted. I went to Nyandarua, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have heard me saying is that I'm born in slightly humble background, because you can see I have already told you that my parents, what kind of things they were doing and how it is they found themselves in Laikipia. Growing there, my parents were good parents because they showed us how to be focused. They also showed us how to work hard. They also showed us how to be people who are responsible. So through the time, I was able to grow through the school and becoming a very responsible person, somebody who is focused in life. And from that background, I was able to grow to the level now which I am. Because I grew in the career ladder in the corporate, and I am where I am at this point in time. Again, my giving my life to Christ also caused me to be focused in life early, because I gave my life to Christ early. And this caused me to not now be conformed to patterns of the world, which may deprive somebody from being able to be focused. My commitment to Christ and having God being able to order my life.
So before we touch on the corporate side of your life, let's just go slightly back to your upbringing. You've mentioned very humble backgrounds, and not many people are able to make it out of humble backgrounds. So what's this that you would attribute to that movement for yourself? Is there anything you could attribute to your parents, probably could be the school that you went to, probably a teacher. Was there friends that you had that you think changed your perspective? And again, as well, what's this dream that you are having that really drove you to be able to get yourself out of that situation?
I think my parents, more so my dad. My dad was a very, very positive person. He kept on encouraging you. He was not even educated because he was educated up to standard 6. But I think the standard 6 of that time was not like the standard 6 of today. It was, if you found somebody who had gone to the level of standard 6, there are people who seemed to be slightly informed, people who could be able to do many things because he could even write nice things. And then he loved education, and he loved to see his children progressing as far as life is concerned, whatever direction you wanted to take. And anytime you became successful, particularly me in school, because I was bright in school, and I did performed very well in my primary level. Even as I went to high school, he would really feel very, very happy. And when I took my results, and he could encourage me and tell me, I know you don't like a lot of shaba work. I really wasn't very good in shaba work. And he was telling me, because of that, you need to work very hard in your education so that you acquire a position that does not require you to do kurima. You want to be involved a lot in shaba work. And he used to get very excited when it is that you would take good results. He would encourage you. Sometimes when you go, I continued down in education. You don't expect a standard 6 person to understand when you tell him deep things about education and the certifications you're receiving. He may not have understood, but he kept getting very excited and encouraging you, and you felt very encouraged. I remember when my father passed on, I said, now I think I will stop even really exerting, because who would I be taking who would be getting excited when I tell him about it. I got achievements, and who would I be sharing with? I felt like I have lost a very important thing in my life. So you can see, he was my cheerleader. The same with my mom. My mom wasn't as a cheerleader like my dad, but there was that diversification as far as the people you looked into.
So some of the building blocks are coming from your parents have been a huge help for yourself. What's something you would attribute to a skill you picked up or something that you had within you that drove you towards self-improvement?
I'm a very focused person, and then I have self-drive. I would say self-drive. I have inner self-drive. I don't need to have people around me, so many, and to cheer me up, even though my father was cheering me up to be able to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. I have very strong inner drive. And I'm thinking the inner drive is the one that caused me to be able to go the far that I went. Because even now, I am the person who always believed that there is solution for whatever situation it can be, whether it's a very difficult situation. I believe that I have a solution can be found. And I always say, even if I don't get a solution for whatever situation it can be, somebody else will. And if it's not me, who else? So I have found myself, what I can say is an inner drive. And I also want to bring in to say that inner drive was even made even better by my giving my life to Christ. So when I gave my life to Christ, I got focused, I got anchor, I got a place to learn to. God became my anchor. He became my lock.
Yeah.
And I always I could always be able to refer back to God, even when it is that I felt that I needed to achieve whatever it is I would have wanted to achieve. When I want to start something, I would always refer to God. Apart now, again, referring to people who I would want them to give me perspective, I also refer to God. I'm a great believer in the Lord directing somebody in whatever it is that you do.
So for corporate leadership, you require some level of educational building blocks. And you are trained as an accountant. So up till now, what have you studied in, and how has that shaped your thought process, even on thinking about business and management?
I could say like you have rightly said, my initial interaction as far as the starting to build the career is concerned, I started as an accountant.
Mhm.
I didn't progress greatly as far as an accountant is concerned because I digressed. I could say in the basic, as far as an accountant is concerned, I digressed to management. So I could say that as I progressed in acquiring in acquiring skills, I acquired skill in more in management and leadership, and departed a little bit from accounting. And one of the things I know is that if you are aspiring to move higher as far as your level is concerned and get great achievements, and particularly even in the corporate area, you've got to build your skill. And then you need to ask yourself, which skill are you building? You start segregating and then focus and then start developing skill in the areas that you would want to progress as far as your life is concerned.
You've spoken of, you feel like the industry that you're in, which is microfinance, is a calling, and you got into microfinance without even fully knowing what it was at the time. Um, it's more of you got yourself in something that you love, and you've been in the industry for, what's wrong to say, about 30 years.
Yeah.
So kindly speak on the, you worked for government first, slightly, then there was this transition into what even by then was not called microfinance. How did you get yourself into that space, or just explain that journey slightly?
Okay, fine. It's true. I always say that for me, what I do right now, because I am a microfinance banker, that's what I can
Yeah.
tell myself.
Uh-huh.
I call myself, it's a calling. Because I could say I started doing microfinance even when I didn't know what was microfinance. It was also not being called microfinance because I started with the government of Kenya. My first employer was government of Kenya. And what it was doing, it was giving loans to small scale business people and small scale farmers. And I found myself in that space. That was my first employment. I found myself I was stationed in Nyahururu. I found myself going to Jabini, those areas of Kinagop, being able to interact with the small scale farmers, giving them credit. We can call them micro credit to be able to boost their farming and training them that they need to do farming as business. And I also was also dealing with people who are having small businesses, giving them loans, small loans, micro loans, to be able to also boost their businesses. And did a lot of training, bookkeeping. I used my accountancy which I had acquired to be able to help them to do bookkeeping, to be able to do budgeting. I found myself in that space. And when I was doing that, I loved that work because it's transformational. Because you could hear people giving stories, how it is, they have been able to get financing, and being able to also to be their skills to be enhanced in a way that they were able to manage their money better. And during those years, I could hear even somebody saying, by the way, I don't even need a loan. I first of all need to be able to manage my money. I think I am having a challenge in management of my money. And they could go and be able to start managing their money well. And then they'll call you back to say, I think now I need a loan to be able to boost my business. So now, after working with the government of Kenya, that time which I did not know it was microfinance, I moved out to go and work with an industrial chemical company. And now I is in the finance in their finance office, the finance department.
Yeah.
And I felt as I progressed, I didn't find joy. It was routine, or it was work. How you feel, you're not even feeling fulfilled. So now when I got an opportunity to go back to microfinance, now I knew it was microfinance, I came back very quickly. In fact, I even accepted to take a lower salary to be able to go to work with a microfinance. And I started at a very lower level, in an officer level. And I started now being able to mobilize the community to
I
be
want to touch that just slightly. When you say you're an officer, I do understand this was it still for Kenya what we know it today, or what was the name of the organization then?
yeah
Again, also I understand you are probably top, not first 10 employees among. Can you explain?
yeah, just like how I have explained to you later earlier,
Mm.
it is true. When I talk of an officer, of course, that is the starting point of a credit officer, where you interact with the customers who need to be given the credit, and that's what the level I started. And I was among, you see now, food. You want me to talk about ECLOF? Sorry, not ECLOF. Faulu Kenya. Faulu Kenya was starting,
Yes.
and it was an organization which was coming from another traditional organization, and it was the traditional NGO was wondering that they are not able to intervene as far as some category of the people is concerned. You know, it was Food for the Hungry was just a traditional NGO doing the NGO work of being able to mobilize the community, being able to meet the needs of the community. But then they didn't have the wing of having been able to intervene as far as the people doing income generating activities, engaged in income generating activities are concerned. They didn't have the solution to that. And then they felt that category is being left out. And they felt they wanted to address that. And they started an autonomous branch to deal with that, where they were able to put up a fund and be able to now start leading. And they went through a pilot to be able to see whether that happens. And they engaged just one person to be able to do that. Then when they realized that it can work, they thought they can scale it. And then I was among the first 4 officers that were engaged to be able to scale that. And I could say that we were the pioneer team as far as Faulu Kenya is concerned. It's now a big organization. I grew my career ladder in that organization. From an officer, I became a branch manager. I became an area manager. An area manager means several branches, more than like 5 plus branches. Then in the same company, I became a regional leader, where I was overseeing many other area managers and the branches. And in the same company, I became the head of department of the biggest department, which is the business department that was interacting with the customers and was able to grow, or was the one that was growing the business. Then from there, that's when now I felt I needed to move on. I was able now to also look out, and I came to ECLOF Kenya to be able to also be able to grow their business as a CEO.
So ideally, you've already seen a lot of microfinance. You've been part of the building blocks. Even in the industry at this point, for Kenya is one of the biggest microfinance. To the point it's become now a microfinance bank. However, let's move to you've come to ECLOF Kenya, and you've come in. You found the loan book at the time was about 40 million USD. And you've grown it to a point at a high where it was about 150 million USD. So what are some of the strategies that you've used to grow this loan book to where it is, and also just grow the business? As for even the loan book to grow, the customer base has to expand, the product has to expand. What's some of the structures that you've used? What's the thinking process? This would almost be a 4x in terms of business since you joined.
I came to build on the good work that was done by the team that were there in ECLOF Kenya. So because they had done a good work, we came from a base which we needed to just be strengthened, because they had already been doing a good work. And you were asking the strategy I engaged. I engaged the strategy of having to, first of all, cause the human resource that were there to see that when you start growing an institution, you also grow with it, because the institution is going to create branches, is going to create positions, is going to create other opportunities. And so, first of all, it's increasing the motivation of the human resource that you find and also bringing some other skills that were not there, and restructuring some of the things that needed to be restructured and putting structures that were not there. So that's what I started, and then we also increased the product lines. We didn't have many products in those times, but now we were able to increase the product line because, and of course, not what you see to think that should come on board as products. It's where we carried out surveys to be able to engage the customers, to be able to understand what it is that they want. And when we were able to understand what the customers would want, we structured products or developed products in line with what the customers' needs were. Those are the products which are called market-driven products. And then again, we also collaborated with other providers of different services so that we fitted in what we call the value chain. When they provide different services, we also provided other services. And it became strong because we focused on what we can do better. So we work a lot even in the value chain, where you give your services when the rest of the players in the value chain also give their services. So I think that's what I can say. I also looked out for funding, because when you're talking about the financial institutions, of course you're selling money. You need to have money with you, and money is you collaborate with other people who are also selling money, so that you can also be able to get the funding that is needed by the customer. One of the things I would want to let you know is that prior to the recent time, microfinance used to get money from what you call the grants, where you got money. You are not meant to be able to refund the money commercially. You could, some of the time, you could even sink the money and it's not returned through bad loans and all those stories. But from the time, many years now from that time, the financial institution, including the microfinance, is sourced fund commercially. So you have to be a good manager of even the fund to ensure that money is well used, and also demonstrate that you have ability to be able to get that money, utilize it in the right way, and to be able to refund it, so that you also don't burn your fingers through non-performing loans. So I had a line of financiers who were able to, I brought on board a line of financiers who were able to fund the institution, and the company continued growing. I also had opened the organization to be able to be rated, so that we can be able to see how well are we performing. I remember at one point we also were taken through a rating by an assessment. I can say an assessment by one of the raters. The raters called Decibel, 6 Decibel. Yeah. Coming to do an evaluation to see how well are you doing what it is that you are talking about you do. And we were many institutions in the globally. And that time, ECLOF Kenya emerged among the 10 top best managed institutions that interact with the customer and be able to meet the needs of the customer. And our customers expressed a lot of excitement and a lot of appreciation of the kind of services that the company has been given to them.
You've touched on so many issues, and I have so many questions. So I'll just take them slowly. You've spoken first off of the main people you serve are MSMEs and SMEs. And so it's providing credits and products that fit them. So this would pretty much more from you being a financial in your perspective, and how this is more to people who run these actual business, the entrepreneurs themselves. So first off, it's a bit difficult for MSMEs and SMEs to access credit, and traditional credits in the banking sense is not out to reach to them. So microfinance is their hope. We find microfinance being slightly more expensive than banking, but this again being because of the risk levels of if you are an MSME or an SME, so you load slightly, and also from where the capital comes from, so that microfinance can be able to provide this credit. So if I'm an entrepreneur, first off, how can I even be able to access credit from microfinance? And two, how can I be able to access this finance yet still put it in my business and manage it well enough such my cash flows can pay the debt that I'm picking up and still grow?
You have asked very many questions, but I'll be able to see how I respond to all those. Yes, it's easy to get money from microfinance if you are an micro entrepreneur, or even if you're a micro entrepreneur or you're small and SME or you're an SME, because that's why the microfinance exists, to be able to address the cause of this category of the people. What you need to do is to ensure that you have an income generating activity. And the income generating activity is positioned in a way that it can be able to refund back the money you get. And when they're doing an assessment, when microfinance is doing an assessment to any customer, is it an SME, small and micro, or it's micro and small, the demonstration is your income generating activity able to service the loan that you're giving. One of the things you need also to know is that most of these particularly the micro and small entrepreneurs, they don't have securities. So the risk is high. You need to understand, even as you give these loans, the risk is high. But how do you go around that risk? You need to ask yourself how you go around that risk. Because if they will tell you that they want to secure their loans, they'll be giving you the household goods. Sometimes somebody will scam, say, you will take my stools, you will take my electronics, even I'm unable to pay, you're going to take my tables. You get to understand that those, you can't call them those are really proper securities, because there is wear and tear. At the same time, you even don't take this security to put them aside. They are still using the assets that they have pledged, that in case that they are unable to pay. So now a proper assessment is needed to ensure that you are able to advance loans to those customers in the sizes that they can be able to pay, because their income generating activities are able to generate that kind of income that is able to pay those loans. Then most of the times, microfinance organizes this clientele into groups. Why is that? So that there can be peer pressure. They can also be checking on one another. They can also be co-guaranteeing. You can guarantee, say, if so-and-so is not able to pay, we are going to take care of those loans. But more so is for peer pressure. And again, to also give time for the officer to be able to meet a number of people, because you have to realize that the loans for microfinance are small. They're very small loans, most of them, particularly if you're giving the micro loans, and you need to get as many so that you can also have the officer being able to meet their costs, and they can also be cost effective. So that's how it is. There is a lot of interaction. It is called it's high touch. It's not it's high touch than high tech. Mostly it's high touch, because you've got, again, there is a lot of other non-financial interventions. There is trainings. You've got to do a lot of trainings. So you need to gauge to be able to do an analysis of these microfinance customers, your customers, to see what are they suffering from as far as the knowledge gap is concerned. Then from there, you structure the trainings. It can be that you administer them internally. You can also be able to solicit the support from even other providers of services to be able to come and intervene. Because if you don't have that skill, because there is a lot of building the capacity of the customers to be able to also to see to it that they pay their loans. You are also causing them to transform as far as their lives are concerned, because mostly microfinance are what it is, their passion is to be able to see transformation of people's life. There's there is a combination of both financial and social bottom line, and there is another third bottom line that is coming on, called environmental. So even as you serve this customer, you are saying, are they developing financially? Are they also developing socially? Because some of these customers are very far from as far as their lives are concerned. So you need to lift them both socially and as well as you lift them financially. And that bottom line, like I've rightly said, is that you bring in the aspect of environment, because you also don't want to, as you advance your services, you're also harming the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a business, if I'm coming to you, what would you recommend? I put most of the credits in working capital, capital expenditure, or operational expenses. What would be a good recommendation for if I'm to pick credits?
The good recommendation is to put it in the working capital. I want to tell you that also microfinance institutions, just like any other financial institution, they don't want to, it's not try and error. You want to engage, to work with the individuals that are already have tried their business. They have income generating activities. They are saying they are not going to die tomorrow. So you, not many times that you want to do with people who are taking money to go and start businesses or income generating activities. You want income generating activities which are existing. We always say has existed for more than 6 months, so that this person has some level of assurance that this income generating activity is going to be there the next 2 or several years. So even as you advance the credit, you're not going to, it knows the business is not going to sync with the credit. You're advancing to boost. They already have lined up the things that they want to do in these income generating activities of theirs. So mostly the loans which are given, they are working capital. But then we also have, we also structure, that's what I was talking, a basket of many products. We also structure some other products so that they can take care of other things which are not geared towards business. Because one of the things you also have to remember is that if you don't take care of those other needs of the customer, they would divert the income generating, they would divert the working capital to other things. So we also have what we call the social products. Maybe somebody want to pay school fees. Instead of having to scoop money from the working capital to go directly to school fees, you also structure the product, for example, other products, loan products for paying school fees. Somebody also want to rebesha nyumba. Yeah. They want to also look, be seen, okay, me, I'm also doing business. I want to enhance the outlook of my home or my house. You also can be, we also structure products of that kind. We also, somebody want to do micro health insurance. We also do that because you also know that if you are not taking care of those other needs, like the insurance to do with health insurance, when they are sick, they are going to take money from the working capital and go directed to hospital. If you don't have that product yourself, you also direct them to other institutions that can be able to do that. That's how I told you these collaborations or working in variations. You also ensure that those credits that you're giving, they have been insured. We call it the credit life. Yeah. So that if somebody, and we, the God helping, they don't die. If he dies with the credit. What happens? Do you go to their home, to their families, to tell them the so and so held credit with ourselves, so we want you to pay? They may not be able to pay because it could be that the income generating activity was being done by the principal person who has passed on. So you've got to also ensure credit. You now collaborate with the insurance companies to be able to you now do what? You now negotiate the prices so that it's not as if they walked to an insurance company to be able to secure their credit. The prices will be different because they're also using the mass, because you're taking most of their customers to be able to do that. Many other products, for like now the wash products. The wash product is water, hygiene and sanitation, which means that you also want to also take care of the hygiene of the people that you are serving. Because I want to tell you that micro entrepreneurs, they suffer from many things, especially in the rural. You may find that they don't have very good latrines or toilets. So you enable them to be able to put up pit latrines which are decent, that you can even be able to clean. They also enable them to have access to water It can be that they are collecting water from the rainwater. You help them to get like tanks, water tanks. They can sink shallow wells to be able to get water. They can also be able to set up water businesses for places where the water is needed. And they can also be able to also get clean water, like now maybe gadgets that will enable them to get clean water, like water purates, things like those ones. And you see all that is collaborations with various providers of different services, because you are not having to, all these products or all these services cannot be done by one institution. You collaborate. So that's what I was talking to you about, value chains.
So you've spoken on something. I just want to touch on something really quickly, then move back to sources of funding and so on. You've spoken of things like wash products, which are pretty much things that government intervention should be touching on. So, with your view, how would you rate government intervention so far? I know a lot of private industries already touching on these products, but would you say there's been an improvement, or are we stagnating just generally?
What I can say is the biggest room in a house is the room for improvement. So there's still big room for improvement. There's still many grounds to be able to be reached. There are many people out there that need to be reached with the same product and same solutions. So the government can continue enhancing the ability to be able to give solutions as far as that is concerned. So there's need for improvement.
That's a very diplomatic answer. We will move to sources of funding. Pretty much now, this is generally as a normal Kenyan, I might not have a very good view. I just see on the news, we say we're competing for, the normal Mwananchi is competing for capital with the government. So yourselves who would now be sitting at the avenues where you go source this money so that you could come give us in credit. How has that been? Are you feeling like the source of credit internally, especially because some of the credit that you get comes from banks, and banks seem to be really loaning or giving the government money in terms of bonds. Has the access to this capital improved, or what does that look like? Also loaded onto that question is ECLOF Kenya sits in ECLOF International, so you have a better view or a really good view of what Africa and some bit of Latam is doing. So this being South America and a bit of Asia. You've mentioned that even at 60 decibels, you are rated as top 10 in the world for best microfinance. So do you think being in Kenya helped that, or is this a standalone? Would you say the microfinance in Kenya is also faring better than other countries? What does the credit look like for the MSMEs and SMEs in maybe our region, East Africa, Africa? Just touch on that slightly.
Okay, you first of all started to talk about whether the access for funding,
yes,
particularly internally. I would still say what I have said, that there is still need for a lot of having many sources that are fuels money to be able to be channeled to the low-income earners, because microfinance, they serve the low-income earners. I still wouldn't say that there are many sources. There is also need to be able to, the government to be able to understand who is this poor person, who is this vulnerable person, so that then there can be channels where how it is that money that should be able to reach to them, particularly for improving their income generating activities are concerned. And also identifying channels, how that can be able to be channeled. Because like microfinance is one of the channels that can be used to be able to reach, because they already have outreach. They have experience in being able to interact and work with this person who is needing to be intervened, both in the rural and in the urban. Particularly in the urban is in the informal settlements. In the rural, there are those people who are doing small scale farming and those activities in the rural areas. Microfinance have a great understanding of these people, because that's what they sleep and wake up to do. because these are their clientele. So if there can be a way that some of the funds which sometimes is said that, there is this fund to intervene on this area, the youth, the poor people, if it can be channeled through microfinance, it can be of a great deal. And the kind of solutions that the impact that is being the government could be thinking, and any other body would be thinking, it will be greater than when it is that maybe those bodies, that the government and the rest decides that they go direct to be able to work with these people. There are already people who are already understanding that what should be done, who have interactions on a daily basis with them. So internal sources of fund need, if they can increase, that would be good. You also said that why is it that ECLOF was found itself in the position of space of being among the top 10 when there was an assessment that was carried out by an international or a neutral assessor.
Yeah.
It is not that because it was African, so it was maybe, how can I say that? You see, if it's an African, they need to be given these routes. No, it emerged the best, even if among the equals, even if there was no slot and there wasn't, ECLOF still have emerged a lot, because you see, it's not about what they think; it's about what your customer think.
Yeah.
Because they go assess the customers. It is based on what the customers are saying. In fact, it's an assessment purely which is drawn from what it is the customer are saying about an institution and the impact the customer feels that the institution has on them. And then you said that we work with we work with a network.
Yes.
Yeah, we have exposure in different ECLOF Kenya has an exposure in different parts of the world because of that interaction. You have meetings that we go talk among ourselves. We get to understand what are the challenges people are facing, what are the solutions they are engaging in. And then you can also do exchange visits. When you go to different countries, you see how they are handling different things. You can then come back to your country. You cannot copy paste, you contextualize so that it fits what it is that you're looking for. Like now, for example, when I joined this company, our agriculture portfolio was only 2%. I visited Philippines. I was able to see what it is that they are doing, and they were ahead of us, but with many strides. And then we came back and be able to the learning. We contextualized the learning all the time. Our portfolio, our agriculture portfolio, has not gone below 25. Our target has always been that our portfolio mixture should be one of it, part of it, a portion of it should not go below 25% of the entire portfolio. It has always been above that. And it sees the learning we came. We never copy-pasted, we just contextualized. And those are several years ago. And we've been improving. And that's what happens.
I saw a picture of you were able to meet would we call him the founder or the thought brain of microfinance industry? Were you able to pick anything from him? Any interaction per se?
Yeah, he was in a conference, so I listened to how he was giving a story, true story, and you capture a lot when people who have great experience, they tell you their life journey as far as what you're engaged in is concerned. It was a great pleasure on my side to be able to meet with him and even to take a photograph with him. That's a great achievement.
So I'll move back to, you spoke about data. It's pretty much credit is a data business. And you were saying government, they need to come to microfinance because you guys really understand credit and the actual people you're serving. So you once also sat as a board at CIS Kenya. So you pretty understand credit information systems. So there was a point which is a bit controversial when Ruto, the new president, came in, he removed everybody from the credit reference bureau. Did that affect your business, or would you say you're still fine?
I would say they didn't remove everyone, not even Ruto. It's during the time of the president Kenyatta.
Okay.
They didn't move everyone. It's just lowered the threshold, what they said, anyone who is 5 million, who is in the credit reference bureau with 5 million, those ones, they are calling them small loans. And then was said to be to not be listed. It was challenge, a big challenge. Bearing in mind that's not, as far as microfinance is concerned, that's not even a small loan. It's I can't even remember in our institution a loan which is to the tune of 5 million. That's a very big credit, the borrower in as far as microfinance for us as ECLOF is concerned. And I want to believe in most other microfinance of our level. So that's a challenge, because now it causes you to now exposes financial institution to even more non-performing loans, because now you're not, people like those ones now, they will enjoy the privilege of being free. When it is they are still having to struggle. It is a good thing, again, because the listing is also causes somebody to know lowers the credit worthiness of a person. Removing somebody from the listing is still would be good, but I'm thinking it should have been able to be done on a case-to-case basis. You expect exceptionally, not a blanket decision that you remove everyone else which is at this level. That is not a very motivating position as far as financial institution is concerned, even though it could be motivating to the rest of the people, the client. Again, it's also affecting the industry in a negative way. Yes.
So now that you sit at the top of microfinance, or among the few at the top, you're able to see the horizon a bit better. And ideally, even that's what the role is all about. Being a CEO is all about seeing what's going to happen. What do you see moving forward for microfinance as an industry? Even would like to expand it a bit more for credit in Kenya, and even bringing it on a granular level for ECLOF Kenya.
The horizon is that microfinance need to be innovative and creative. Remember, there is a lot of advancement because of the technology. Microfinance need to find themselves in the space of utilizing the technology, making the work more effective, and also being able to intervene as far as cost is concerned. Doing microfinance, I want to let you know, it's also very expensive. So they need to also find a way how to be able to intervene as far as the cost is concerned, make it more effective, make it more cost effective, engage in technology, because even the client of our days is very enlightened, and as far as technology is concerned. So they need to also be able to invest in that space is concerned, and also ask themselves the approaches that they have also have used in the past. Is those traditional approaches becoming outdated? Those are the questions that need to linger around the microfinance providers. As far as asking themselves, would they want to use more technology than what you call the brick and mortar? Are they continuing to set up branches across? Is technology a worthwhile direction to be able to adapt, so that they also be able to intervene as far as the cost in setting up branches is concerned? Also enhance the skills and competencies of their human resource to be able to put up with the changes that are taking place in our now world, and also be able to also interact globally to see what is happening in the global space, so that people are not left as in an island and finding themselves their space has already been taken up.
So even as we close, I want to touch slightly on leadership. Now you have operational experience, so you've had operational experience for quite a while. Being coming from Kenya, you came as a, a leader in the company. You're now the CEO at this company, and again, also you've sat on multiple boards. I can see CIS Kenya. You are a director at Rethrow Capital. You've been at Association of Microfinance, and as well, you are a leadership coach with CDI Africa. So you have quite a good understanding, both on an operational level and also as someone who sits to govern the leadership itself on an operational level. So, what would you say is one of the key points or major things to look at when you're a leader? Again, as well, the human resource management aspect of it, as you add on the operational aspect as well.
I think it's a combination of both operational and strategic.
Yes.
Because if you are not strategic, you may find yourself just going around what you know, and you're also not knowing that the cheese was moved. So you need to also be able to find yourself that you're also understanding what is happening in the space you're working and even close, so that you can be able to also move with the change. You don't find yourself one day you're thrown away, become irrelevant, or you are not very adaptable to what is the changes that are taking place. So strategically speaking, you need to be looking out at all the time. Ask yourself what is the direction that the world is going, and even the industry is going, and also understand what is the changes that are taking place, even the clientele that you're serving. Have their preference, have they changed, and you're still advancing the same solutions that you used to advance? How do you tweak your solutions to be able to be relevant? As well as what I said, because of the change in technology, how are you adapting into changes in technology? There is always innovation, there is always progression. How are you progressing that you're never left behind? You're within the competition. Your new entrants into the market are not coming and finding you not prepared. And you're also not getting very threatened by entrants to the market. How is it that you can always position yourself that even entrants to the market are not throwing you off balance? So I think it's being having a strategic mind, having a converging a team that is always able to change as quickly as possible, and also knowing that every time you need to continue enhancing the human resource to be able to you gaining the skills, the mindsets, the motivations that is right, and also being able to know that the human resource are as motivated when it is that they feel also their needs are also taken care of. So it's as much as you also look into the needs of the customer, you also need to ask yourself, what is the needs of your human resource?
So you've spoken on maintaining a good human resource. But for everything that you do, you also need to attract the right human resource. How do you attract the right human resource?
As you attract the right human resource, you also realize you also attract which sometimes which are not right. But when they are within your bus, the best thing to do is to continually maybe you enhance their abilities. For the ones that are abilities are mismatched, you slowly let them move on, because if you work with the people who are mismatched, it can be a big problem. But also, as you do your identification and selection and onboarding, you also do it not in a hurry, and be able to use the mechanisms, having onboard mechanisms that you're able to engage in an effective manner, even as you're onboarding human resource. Right now, we have a space for an auditor. We are not in a hurry, because what you're needing to do is to get the right person in the bus.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have just one last question, even as we finish. Is for you, during your whole 30 years plus experience in microfinance now, what would be the 3 things that you would hope would change in the financial landscape in Kenya that have been huge stumbling blocks, roadblocks for you? What's 3 things that you think, if these things were changed, it would improve the landscape quite significantly?
I think it's leaving the people who have that expertise to be able to play in that space.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the government to say now we are structuring products for this category of the people, you distort the market. So supposing you left the experts to play in that area. The next thing is to be able to avail finances which are cheaper, so that they can be able, the experts can also be able to use that to be able to avail it to the market. So if there are sources where we can be able to have such funds.
Yeah.
And the other thing is to continually innovate. The third is continually innovate. Don't allow yourself to linger on the traditional. Combine the traditional as well as you innovate.
So innovate, would you say in terms of products, or would you say in terms of technology injection? Cutting
across technology and everything that moves along with the innovation. Technology is not the only thing that is innovation. It's cutting across, where people engage. Even the what you're saying is that they'll need to be a lot of brainstorming, thinking a lot of the time. We have, for example, a team that is always like a think tank.
Yeah.
So every day there is a way of saying that the ground is shifting in this direction. How do we shift? Because how would we always be progressing? It can never be a standstill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I feel like there's still so much we've not touched on. This topic is quite heavy. I feel we might invite you again. I hope you'll be okay with it, and you give us time as well. Asante sana.
Asante, and thank you for considering me.
Thank you.
Okay.